Welcome to another gallery review for matchups. Please watch the first video for more explanations of what these are, because that will not be the focus for these subsequent videos. The blue, super rare, and three uniques are the core bats. Key position of middle infield have many good options. And like the bats, starting pitcher, stable as a solid core of aces. The key is the unique Bradish, who might not currently have the greatest projections or metrics, but not unrealistic for him to outdo it all, especially with how his schedule falls, where 5 of 6 of his projected starts are good to great. And we pair that with great bats, with great matchups, and as some of us have probably figured out, this is Orange Fly's gallery. So based off of those two, the good starting pitcher with good schedule, with great bats, Bob just might be adding to the bobblehead collection. In game week 1, the unique Abreu and King Tuck has 4 game week, along with J-Ram, Tim Anderson, an excellent matchup for Devers, which is great, except it's a first world problem because Soto has a 4 game week, so does Marte, and Acuna with an excellent matchup. So if we jot it down, the lineup has 6 4 game weeks, one of them also being an added benefit of excellent in terms of the pitchers being faced. As we can see, Soto is facing Colorado, and the decision would be whether we'd start Tim Anderson with 4 game week or Trey Turner with a beatable matchup. And I went with Trey because it's no secret that Philly is significantly better than the Southsiders. And here I'm basing that off of their projected WRC plus as a team. The other decision is whether or not King Tuck with 4 games is used versus Renfroe at Oakland with only 3 games, but as a unique, which obviously would strengthen the super rare pro lineup. Super rare all-star. But a rare Judge, Trout, and Betts would be just fine to pair with Acuna with an excellent matchup, Tim Anderson with 4 game week, and Marte with 4 games as well. And game 2 is no different in terms of having 6 players with 4 game weeks, which doesn't even include LeMahieu. So Renfroe with a tougher matchup is going to be okay because the unique Abreu has a pretty good 4 game week with Tuck. Devers and Trey, 4 games, with Devers having 3 of those with excellent pitcher matchups alongside a good park. And remember, this is the Pirates pitcher number 4 and 5. And if they opt for a 6-man rotation, then it's their worst 3. And Marte has another 4 game week, but so does Acuna, and that's who we'll opt for. So while the bats have 4 games, and the pitchers, thankfully, have excellent matchups to make up for some off days, and I'll leave it at that. And speaking of being off, as you'll notice, the lack of highlights and or red indicating tough matchups. This game week will be a little more challenging in terms of not having players with excellent matchups or great matchups. Bradish is facing New York, and Tellez is the only batter that has a winnable matchup. The silver lining, though, is that though Acuna has a tougher matchup with San Diego, these are the bottom half of San Diego's rotation, and same thing on the other side where Soto is facing the latter half of Atlanta's rotation. But again, when these are annotated on the potential lineup sheet, I personally don't put them on because this is meant for me to gauge the ceiling potency of my team. Fortunately for Bob, the next week he has yet another 6 players with 4 games for that game week and or excellent matchups. And with LeMahieu, that makes it 7 4 games. So we have the option of the 2 uniques, Abreu and Renfroe, and actually Tellez as well, with excellent matchups. By default, there's King Tuck as well. Devers and Soto have 4 game weeks, but it's tougher relative to Trey. And speaking of middle infielders, the choice will be whether or not Adames is chosen over Trey. Adames has an excellent matchup, but again, Trey has that offense, and significantly higher in terms of projected points per game. So the unique Tellez has a 4 game week, and Acuna has an excellent matchup with a good park. And then add to all of that, the unique Bradish has a great matchup in Oakland. I'm sorry, against Oakland in Baltimore. And we have a situation where there are so many good options that the question becomes more of how to make the other lineups, i.e. Super Rare All-Star, better. This could be a bobblehead day. Game week, I'm sorry. On to game week 5, and it's beginning to be quite comical because, as you can see with the highlights, there are a lot of excellent matchups. The unique Renfroe at Boston, Abreu and Tucker is not highlighted, but the matchup is quite ownable based off of that potent offense alone. J-Ram, Tim Anderson with excellent matchups, both from a park factor and pitcher standpoint. But Tim Anderson doesn't even make the cut because Trey has an even better matchup, both from a park factor and xFIP, which is highly correlated with next season's ERA, or basically indicative of how good a pitcher could be. Tag on Acuna having a great matchup, and we again can fill a D1 lineup with a lot of power, particularly because it's helped by the matchups, and 3 super rares with good matchups, not including the other superstars with so-so matchups, to go into the super rare all-star. Alright, next we go to a game week where the Bradish unique has a great matchup at Washington, and when it comes to bats, there are 5 4 game weeks. Potential for a bobblehead week. So Marte, Trey Turner, Soto, and Devers, with Devers and Soto having excellent matchups on top of the 4 game week. And J-Ram is not even highlighted, but only because the park factor is not the greatest. But that comes with a big caveat because it's at Detroit, and they've recently changed it to be more of a hitter's park. It's not a hitter's park proven yet, but much better. And the Renfroe unique has a 4 game week. It's tough, but at least one of those at Boston can help. So it looks like a solid lineup with good matchups to ensure that the floor is hit and maybe even the ceiling. The next game week is pretty straightforward with Tellez unique, Adames, Trey, and Soto having excellent matchups alongside the unique Renfroe, with Wheeler and Nola facing Colorado. The other superstars have tougher matchups, so if they don't make the cut, that super rare lineup is still not so bad. So that's about a month and a half in, 7 game weeks, and Bob seemingly planned for all this a year ago. He didn't, but the baseball schedule gods is shining brightly on his players. So the following 2 game weeks, the Bradish unique has excellent matchups at Detroit, and remember, this 97, what used to be a definite pitcher's park, might or probably no longer the case. And Boston has a great, what, first five, and the rest of the batters are meh. And excuse me, at the batters, it's the same old story. Game week for his Renfro unique. On top of that, it's an excellent matchup with Oakland coming to town. J-Ram, a good matchup along with Devers. Actually, his is excellent. Tim Anderson with 4, but Adames has an excellent matchup. So that stack with Tellez might be the best move because Detroit is coming to town and Acuna has a tough matchup with Miami, but it's a 4 game week. Actually, trade does not have 4, so that'll be changed when I put it into the Google Sheets. So hopefully this exercise helps or is helping people get used to use the matchup tool, yes, but more importantly, start getting used to the mindset of properly playing the matchups or playing them so that you can make better decisions of buying and selling. So for Tim Anderson, he's got a slew of winnable or great matchups, and then it kind of just disappears. Or Renfro, as we see at the latter stages of the season, there's not as many good matchups as there were in the beginning. Hint, hint. So hope it all helps. Thanks.